Hello everyone, welcome to Voxcel. I hope you are doing well. So this video we will discuss reading passage 2 of test number 4. We have already discussed reading passage 1. If you haven't watched that video, you should, but after watching this one. So without further ado, let me start. So, our ritual, what we will do first is we will read the title of the passage. So, the title says Food and Economics. So, from the title, it's quite clear that, or we can assume that this passage would be about food and how the economy revolves around it, something like that. Keep in mind the information we are thinking may not be in the paragraph, or it may be in the paragraph. It is not our target to predict what kind of information is given in the paragraph. We will come to know about it when we will read the paragraph, but reading the title and trying to understand what kind of information may be given helps us to channel the vocabulary, so that when we will read the actual paragraph, our mind will not get shocked by reading such kind of vocabulary. I hope it is clear why we do this. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna see the questions, what kind of questions we are dealing with, and then make a strategy according to that. So let's see. We have questions 14 to 26. Okay. So the on this particular side, right hand side, you can see the questions. So from questions 14 to 20, so you have list of headings. So you have 7 questions and you have 11 list of headings, and out of those, from uh, a paragraph has been done for you, and the third. So let me do this, highlight this, so I know this option we should not focus too much on it because it is already been done for us. So we have to read from paragraph B. So paragraph A, we will read it obviously because we will see the other questions. Maybe they will have some answers in that paragraph. And from 21 to 26 we have yes, no, not given. Okay, so we have only two sets of questions, list of headings and yes, no, not given. So I think the strategy will be our strategy will be straightforward. We will read the paragraph, then we will see what kind of option it should have as an answer, and then we will look at the yes no question, whether that information is given in that paragraph or not. Hope it is clear. Let's start. So for a paragraph, though we do not need to read this paragraph for this particular set, but maybe yes, no, not given question is in this particular paragraph. We don't know about that yet, so we will come to know about it when we will read the paragraph. Okay, we're gonna read the paragraph now. Where there is money, there are counterfeiters. So they are obviously okay. It's quite common to like know about this. It's a common sense thing, you can say. So wherever there is money, there will be counterfeit of that. Pre-contact Aztecs. So if you see, this is number 2 written here, this is number 1 written here. So it just means you will be given some kind of definition or information regarding that. Number 1, modified from this particular. Okay, so this is the passage from this is the, like, you can say, source from which passage paragraph is taken. Second, the term pre-contact Aztecs refers to a group of people living in Central America before contact with Europeans in the early 16th century. So this particular pre-contact Aztec is like a group of people that used to live in Central America before Europeans came there. Okay. Pre-contact Aztecs had to keep an eye out for fake cacao beans as they accepted their wage and made their market purchases. So before money, what these pre-contact Aztecs had, they used cacao beans, sorry, for, like, as a money. They accepted their wages in this particular form, and they also did shopping with the help of these beans. A potter whose daily wage of 100 beans turned out to include fakes made from wax, dough, or avocado pits might have trouble buying those two small rabbits costing 30 beans each. So they're now saying that if there is a, let's just say, there is a potter, there is a pot sorry about that, there is a potter and whose wage is, like, just say, 100 beans, and if it includes fake, like they made of wax, dough, or avocado pits. So he or she might have trouble buying those two small rabbits that cost 30 beans each. So to like eat them as a like way, that is their main food source basically. So if we look at this example, like just say just for understanding, they have given third as an option. So what this option says, food is money. So yeah, this is basically they are talking about cacao beans. It is a sort type of food, so it is basically money for them. So what I'm going to do read now is I'm going to read all the options and I will try to make you understand what all these options mean and what kind of information should be in the paragraph, so that this particular option or that particular option should be the answer of that particular paragraph. Okay. So first option, types of food acquisition. So for what kind of information, for what kind of paragraph this option should be an answer? Yeah, that ever whichever paragraph will have the types of food that people used. Sorry about that. So the type of food people acquire, obtain, purchase, whatever the thing is. So wherever this kind of information is given, like these types of food were purchased by people or acquired by people, something like that. So that paragraph will have one as an answer. Stable farming community. So it's quite easy. The origin of private ownership. So origin means start. So wherever there is the information about how private ownership started, that paragraph will have fourth option as its answer. Food and income distribution. So wherever whichever paragraph will have these two information pieces of information, food and income distribution, will have five as an answer. Conflicting interest. So there will be two different interests. Natural hazards, so basically natural obstacles or hazard. What are hazards? Hazards are those situations where you there is danger. Food and economic indicators. So in whatever paragraph there will be indication of food and how the shortage of food or like abundance of food relates to economic indicators will be our answer. Eighth will be our answer for that paragraph. Staple food. So that whatever paragraph tells us these foods were staple. Okay, staple food basically means food that are consumed regularly or they are in abundance, something like that. 10th, types of food production. So you should not get confused between option number 1 and option number 10. Option 1 says types of food acquisition, but option 10 says types of food production. Here we are producing food, here we are obtaining or purchasing food, you can say. 11th, questions about ownership. Again, you should not get confused between fourth option and 11th option. Fourth is saying origin of private ownership, basically how private ownership or where private ownership started. Here is questions about ownership, like whether it is good thing or a bad thing, something like that. There will be some questions marks on the ownership. Hope it is clear. Okay, moving on to the yes, no, not given. Let's see. 21st. Both farmers and pastoralists are mainly involved in food production. So, is there any mention of farmer or so? Is there any mention of this? No. So, let me just clarify something. So farmers, it's quite common word, you should know about it or you would be knowing about it. So that person who grows food. And what is pastoralist? That this term is used for that particular farmer who herds sheep, like who raises sheep. Okay, so for vegetables and for animals basically. I hope it is clear. Is there any mention of any any like farmers or pastoralists? No. So wherever in whichever paragraph there will be mention of farmers and pastoralists, there will be our answer 21. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is, so in a paragraph, like third option, we know this has been done for us, but there is no other answer in it. Now we're gonna read the B paragraph. Among the Aztecs and other ancient American people, food was quite literally currency. The same is true for historic Koreans who paid their taxes in rice, while medieval Europeans gave pepper in payment. So they are saying that this particular method, like food used as currency, okay, this was popular among ancient Americans and Aztec people. Okay, but this is also true for historic Koreans, like like in history, Koreans also did this, while also medieval Europeans used paper as payment. So Koreans used rice, Europeans used paper as payment, form of payment. But food is part of economics in many different ways. But obviously food is part of economics in different ways. If you want to know whether prehistoric people had a concept of private property, look for where they hid their food supplies. So if you want to know whether prehistoric people, so people in the past, they had private property. Okay, so you just have to look where they hid their food supplies. If you are curious about the origins of urban commercialism, think about when people began to trade extensively in staple foods, the most basic of market commodities, as opposed to prestigious delicacies. So now, if you want to know about the private property, you have to find out where they hid their food supplies. But if you're curious about urban commercialism, then you have to see where they, when they trade, or when, so here it is, when people started trading extensively in staple foods instead of, opposed to basically means instead of prestigious delicacies. So delicacy is sort of expensive food which you eat like once in a while. But staple food, what are staple food that you eat regularly, consume regularly. Reconstructing past foodways. So here it is written 3. Let me see what is this. Foodways, the eating habits and culinary practices of a people, region, or historical period. Okay, so eating habits, the food ways. So basically, how they ate their food. Okay, let me clarify. Let me do this. Okay. Allows us to explore topics including labor costs and supplies, the extent of professional specialization, resource distribution, and more. So, if we reconstruct past foodways, basically how people ate food in the past, it will help us to explore topics that include labor cost, like how costly labor was, what were the supplies, or how was the supplies, the extent of professional specialization, distribution of resources, and much more than that. I hope it is clear. Now, you will get, for every question, I forgot to tell you, you will get around 10 seconds to tell me the answer for every question. And if you need more time than that, then you can pause the video, and when you are ready with your answer, you can continue. So, for this, your 10 seconds start now. Okay, time's up. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna read the options together and see if we were able to find out the correct answer together or not. First, types of food acquisition. Is there any mention of this, like these kind of food were purchased? No. So this cannot be our answer. Second, stable farming communities. Is there any mention about some farming communities who had like stable income, or who was stable in any way or any form? No, there is no mention of that either. So food is money. We have already discussed its answer of paragraph A. Fourth, the origin of private ownership. Can this be our answer? No. So here it is written private property. Do not match words. I say in all my videos again and again, if you match words, you will not get your answers correct. So private ownership, yeah, there is mention of, if you want to know these, but where it started, we don't know about anything about that. This paragraph is not focusing on that. So this cannot be our answer. Okay. Fifth, food and income distribution. Can this be our answer? No, because there is no mention about that. Conflicting interest? No, again. Natural hazards? No, because there is no mention like natural hazards. What kind of natural hazards there be? Like earthquakes, typhoons, tsunamis, floods, droughts, these kind of natural hazards. Is there any mention of these words? No. Eighth, food and economic indicators. Can this be our answer? Yes. This is our answer. First, let me mark the write down the answer here. Then I will explain why this is our answer and where is the location. So this eighth is our answer for B. And let me do this now. If you were able to find out this particular answer, congratulations. But can you tell me where is the location of this particular thing is? Yes, here food is part of economics in many different ways. Now here they are telling us that food, it is part of the economics in many different ways, so it is obviously related with food is related with economics. Okay, and also some information is given here. Let me use the color again. Reconstructing past foodways, like how the past people ate, it allows us to explore topics including labor cost and supplies, extent of professional specializations, or things like that. So it will help us to tell about the cost. So you can talk about that also. I hope it is clear. Let me do this. And for this, so that you don't get confused when you look at the answers. I hope it is clear. Now, is there any mention of farmers and pastoralists? No. So obviously 21 answer is not in this. So what happens is usually these answers are almost always in sequence, meaning to say you will find 21 before 22, 22 before 23. But maybe in like once in a blue moon you will get one question like out of order. So let's read 22 then, just to be sure. Farmers increasingly resented the demands of pastoralists. No, we haven't read anything about that. So obviously this is not a publication. Okay, let's read the other options as well so that we you can be sure if you have marked other options, any other like option like from 9 to 11, then I will tell you why. Staple foods. Yeah, there is mention of staple food here. Here is the mention of staple foods. I'm going to mark it again. But is this paragraph entirely focused on what kind of foods were staple, why they were staple, things like that? No, this is just two words that match with this particular option, but this paragraph is not focusing on that particular thing. So obviously this cannot be our answer as well. Hope it is clear. 10th, types of food production. Is there any mention of types of food production? Again, no, there is no mention of this. Questions about ownership. Again, there is no mention of questions about ownership. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the C paragraph. Food production and procurement are huge topics. So now they're saying producing. Okay, what does this word mean? Okay, what's happening here? Yeah, here. Procurement. Yeah, procurement is acquisition, you can say, or you can say to purchase. Okay, food production and procurement are huge topics. Production refers to raising of domesticated plants and and animals. By procurement, people generally mean either the collection of wild. Here they have given the definitions also. Production means this, and what procure means to procure means collection of wild resources or acquisition of food from other groups of people. Either you're collecting food from wild resources or from other people. Okay. Okay. Via trade or exchange, important questions include how food was produced or procured, the food the foods people produced, procured, and the quantity of food generated. So these are the things they were concerned about. Okay, and now you have about 10 seconds to tell me the answer for this, and your time start now. Okay, time's up. And let's read the options together. First, types of food acquisition. Can this be our answer? Yes. In fact, it is our answer. One. Where it is written, okay, so one answer says, first option is saying types of food acquisition. Where it is written, where are the types of food acquisition? Yes, here. Sorry about that. Let me mark the question number here first, then I will tell you. So here they are saying there are two types. Either you can collect from wild resources or you can collect from other people. So there are these are the two types of food acquisition. I hope it is clear. Let's read the other options as well. If you have marked any other option, I will try to clarify it to you why other options cannot be our answer. Stable farming communities, there is no mention about that. There is no mention of private ownership, nothing about income distribution. There is no conflicting interest. There is nothing conflicting. So there is no like conflict, or there is no a thing about like that. Natural hazard, there is no mention of any danger that occurs in nature. There is no mention of staple food, no mention of food production. Yeah, they have told about food production here, but what types of food production? Sorry, there is no mention of that. Like there is mention of types of food acquisition, A and B, wild and people, but there is no mention of five food production types. Questions about ownership, there is no mention of ownerships again, so this cannot be our answer. I hope it is clear. Now, do we need to go to number question number 21? No. Why? Because there is no mention of farmers and pastoralists right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move to the D paragraph. Okay. So we're gonna move to the D paragraph. Different food. Let me do this. Okay. So we're going to read the D paragraph now. Different food production regimes require different amounts and types of labor, have different ecological impacts, and tend to lead to and be caused by different social outcomes. So now they are telling us that different food production, so regime basically type methods, they require different amount of types and labor. So they will have, obviously if you want to grow a food, you will require some other things. If you like to grow b type of food, you will require different kind of things. Okay, they have different impacts, they okay, and they are leading to different social outcomes. Consider, for example, the contrasting implications and opportunities afforded by small scale household mixed farming, individual families tending their own fields and livestock, as opposed to large scale specialized crop farming and pastoralism, where planters and herders are spatially and socially distinct. People may produce the exact same foods using either strategy. They may not, however, lead broadly similar lives. So now they're saying, if you take two examples, like two cases, one is the case of a like family that is tending to its own fields, like plowing its own field, raising its own livestock, okay, whatever the thing is. And second is large scale industrialized farming, where they have hired people or specialists to do different kind of things. So they can both produce exact same food using either strategy, but they will not lead the same life, broadly speaking. Hope it is clear what this paragraph refers to. Now you have again 10 seconds and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And the answer to this question, we will read the options together to find out the answer. Second, stable farming communities. Is there any mention about communities that are stable, in like farming communities that are stable or those that are not stable? No, there is nothing mentioned like this. Next, the origin of private ownership. Is there any mention of origin of private ownership? Again, no, there is nothing like that. Fifth, food and income distribution. Is there any mention of food income and distribution? No. Fifth, sorry, sixth, conflicting interest. Is there any mention of this? Again, no. Seventh, there is no mention of natural hazards, obviously. Ninth, staple foods. Again, no. Tenth, types of food production. Yes, it's quite clear. This is the option tenth. Let me mark here. So the answer to this paragraph, this is option 10th. I hope everybody was able to arrive at the correct answer. Why it is the answer? So this is the answer because of here. So here they are saying small scale household mixed, okay, opposed to the large scale, okay, and people may produce the exact food using either strategy. So either strategy basically refers to types, different types, okay, different strategies. So that's why this is going to be our answer. Let me mark this question 16. I hope it is clear. Okay. So now this there is mention of, yeah. Let's see. There is mention of pastoralist. Here where it was. Yeah, here it is. Pastoralism. Now let's see the question number 21. Both farmers and pastoralists are mainly involved in food production. Is there ever is the answer in this particular paragraph or not? You have around 5 seconds to tell me about this, and time starts now. Okay, time's up. Is our answer in this paragraph or not? No, because this there is no mention like are farmers and pastoralists both involved in this or not. So we will reserve our question for the later paragraphs. Okay, it may be not given, but 22nd, farmers increasingly resented the demands. This there is no mention about that either. 23, let me read this also. Different ways of producing food led to different political and social. There is no mention of these three questions, so let me reserve my these questions for the later paragraph, and if not, then we will read the other questions as well. Maybe first three are not given. You cannot say, you can never say never. Let's read the E paragraph. In small scale household farming, livestock often graze on cropland that is not currently in use. So now we're talking about the small scale farming. What happens here is livestock it often grazes on the cropland that is not in use. The animals stay relatively close to home, walking banks of meat, milk, blood, fat, manure, or other products. So these for these things animals are used for. They convert unneeded or spoiled crops into edible food, and their dung fertilizes the fields. Households are largely self sufficient, although they rely closely on each other for social reasons, for periodic help with large projects, and as backups in case of emergency. So now they're saying that these households they are usually self-sufficient, but from time to time or by now like now and then they need each other help basically, so obviously for social reasons, or sometimes they get some large projects and now they need their help, or in case of emergency. Villages thus consist of multiple groups of people with roughly similar economic interests and identities. So this is how villages comes came to being. So came to how they came to being, because there were like group of people with similar economies or similar money and interest and identities. So they formed groups. Okay, they formed villages, communities, things like that. Hope it is clear now. You have around 10 seconds to tell me what can be the or what should be the answer of E paragraph, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. Now let's read the options together. Second, stable farming communities. Can this be our answer? Yes, this is our answer. Let me first mark this. So our answer to 17th question is second option. So why it is stable farming communities, where it is written here. So households are largely self-sufficient. Okay, though they need in the case of this, but most of the time they are stable. So the income is stable or something like that. Okay, and then they have similar interest or economic or identities or similar something like that. So these are stable housing farming communities. So this is question 17. I hope it is clear. Let's read the other options and see whether any other option can be our answer. The origin of private ownership. Is there any mention of origin of private ownership? No. Let's read fifth. The food and income distribution. Is there any mention of food and income? Again, nope. Conflicting interest. No, there is no mention about conflicting interest. In fact, there is mention of helping each other, cooperation. There is no mention of conflict. uh, Natural hazards, is there any mention of this? Again, no, there is no mention of this. Eighth we have done. Ninth, staple foods, again no. And last, 11th question about ownership, there is no mention of this either. So our answer to this is second, stable farming communities. I hope it is clear. So, is there any mention of, let's see the questions? Yes, no. Both farmers and pastoralists are mainly involved in food production. Is there any mention of this? There is no mention of farmers or pastoralist here. There is no mention of like, okay. So, I guess, okay. So, I will tell you. Okay. So, can you tell me the meaning of this particular word, resented? Yeah, dislike. So farmers increasingly dislike the demands of pastoralists. So basically, if somebody is disliking somebody, there should be some kind of, yes, conflict. So I'm thinking that wherever this option might be, our answer might be in that particular paragraph. But let's see. We cannot say for anything for sure. But these are like quite similar. Okay, so I got excited about that. So 23rd, different ways of producing food led to different political and social structures. Is there any mention of like, because we produce different ways for food, like a group is producing food according to some other method, B group is producing some other method, C is producing by some other method, and it led to different political and social structures. Is there any mention of this particular thing? Again, no. Increased population sizes, again not mentioned. Foodstuffs are still used. Okay, so obviously our answer is not in E paragraph as well, so we will move on to the F paragraph. Okay, it's quite big, I hope. Okay, yeah. Now we will read the F paragraph. Let me just correct here. In contrast, specialized pastoralists move large herds long distances to pasture, potentially spending weeks or even months away from farmsteads and fields before returning to exchange their animal products for farmers' grain. So what they're saying here is they're saying that uh, like these specialized pastoralists, what they do was they moved their large herds from like long distances to pasture. So they went like far away from home to like, so that their cattle or their herd can graze. So potentially they spent weeks or even sometimes month away from farmsteads and fields. So basically they were not growing anything. So then they returned and then they exchanged their animal products for farmers grain. So the farmers, they grew grains, but okay, and what the pastoralist did, they spent months or even weeks or even months like away from their fields, and they collected animal products. Cultivation and herding are thus separate pursuits potentially conducted by different households or kin groups. So obviously that makes cultivation and like herding different specialist pursue different careers. So they are conducted by different households, like different people did different things. Specialized herder cultivator economies are associated with distinct social identities and potential social conflict despite mutual dependence on exchange. So obviously because they were like different from like too different from each other, there are bound to be some kind of social identity or social conflict between these two groups. Okay, though they depended on each other for some particular things. Such herder farmer conflicts may have large scale political and social implications. It has been suggested, for example, that these conflicts underpin the origins of empire in Asia. So there it is suggested that from because of these conflicts, these like disagreements, okay, these arguments, these gave birth to different empires in Asia. Conflicts between nomadic herders and farmers with permanent settlements led both groups to grow larger. So because of the conflicts, both groups they like increased their size. They grew larger. The nomads needed greater numbers to continue raiding the farmers' crop, while farmers needed more people to defend themselves and their food. So the nomads, obvious, okay, they started this particular conflict. They raided the farmers' crop, but farmers they wanted more people on their side because they wanted to defend themselves. Over time, both groups expanded their territories, eventually resulting in nomadic steppe confederations confronting settled agrarian empires. So over time, they obviously expanded their territories because their population grew, and this resulted in this particular conflict. So what are nomadic steppe? Steppe is a huge grassy plain with very few trees, agrarian relating to farming or agriculture. So where it is? So nomadic steppe, agrarian, basically farming community empire. I hope it's quite clear. This paragraph, now you have around 10 seconds for this to tell me the answer to paragraph F, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up, and let's read the options together. Fourth, one, two, three, it's like already done. The origin of private ownership, no, this cannot be our answer. Five, food and income distribution, is there any mention of this? No. Conflicting interest, is there any mention of like there were two different interests? Yes, this is our answer. Let me mark here. Sixth option. Now, can you tell me where it is written in the paragraph about conflicting interests? So basically, the entire paragraph, if you have read closely or if you have understood easily, was about two different interests. Like why did nomadic people did a particular thing, and why did farmers did particular thing. So, but even if you see in this particular thing, the last in the last sentences, the nomads needed greater number to continue raiding crops, while farmers needed number to defend themselves and their crops. So this you can say like in the entire paragraph, this sums it up. So this can be our location to question number 18. I hope it is clear. Let me do this. Okay, let's read it. Yes, no, not given, and I think so we have some answers here. 21, both farmers and pastoralists are mainly involved in food production. Okay, is our location in this paragraph? Yes. So our location, let's read this together, is like here. In contrast, from here to, you can say, here. Now you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer to this particular question. We have read it together, obviously, and for this your time starts now. Okay, time's up, and our answer to this question is no. I hope you arrived at the correct answer. Why it is no? Because they are clearly saying that nomads, pastoralists, what they did, they went away from their, here it is written, they spent weeks or even months away from their fields before returning to exchange animal products. So they basically depended on animal products For what kind of thing? For farmers, grain. So they are separate pursuits. So basically, they are not the same thing. I hope it is clear. So let me do this. We don't even need this particular thing. Yeah, from here you can easily clear. Let's read 22nd. Farmers increasingly resented demands of the pastoralists. Okay, is there any mention of this particular thing? No. Let's read the another question and see. Yeah, here I have read. Have you read something about political and social structures? Yeah, tell me about this. Yeah, here it is. Political and something about social implications. Okay, so this is our basically location. Now you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer to this particular question. Let me first mark this particular question here. Question 23. So now you have around 10 seconds to tell me whether answer should be yes, no, or not given, and time starts now. Okay, time's up, and the answer to this question is, I'm gonna write it here. Drum roll, please. What is the answer? Yes. Why it is yes? Because here they're saying such herder, farmer, basically different type of professions, conflicts may have large this. So conflict means it is a different identity. So that's why if you have same views as your friend or some other person, why will you have conflict with them? So conflict always means different opinions. So when does conflict arise? When there is difference in opinion. Clear? So if this is yes, this is no, and we know this, then this should be not given. I hope it is clear. Okay, let's see 24th if this is also given in this particular paragraph. Increased population sizes led to conflict. Is there any mention of population size grew, something like that? Yes, there is. Let's read again. It is somewhere here. It has been suggested that these conflicts between nomadic herders and farmers are both led to okay. So here it is both groups okay, so okay, sorry about that, I forgot to change the color. So for the true false, let me change the color so that after that you will be able to easily find the answer. So here they're saying both farmers involved in food production. I will just highlight the keywords. So this is obviously not given. Different ways, different political and social structures. Okay, so increased population size, it led to conflict. So it is something about population growth is here. Okay, now let me just try. Let me make you understand the question first. Just let me put some light on the question. So when the answer will be yes, when because of the population growth, there were more conflicts. Okay, it led to conflicts. Not only more conflicts. Sorry, it led to conflicts because populations grew, there were like more people, so it led to conflicts. When the answer will be false, when population was not behind the conflict, there would be something else. When it will be not given, when we don't know whether population was the reason of conflict or was there some other reason for conflict. Okay, now you have around 10 seconds, tell me the answer to this particular question, and time starts now. Okay, time's up, and the answer to this question is no. I hope you arrived at the correct answer. Why it is no? Because they're saying that conflicts led to population growth. Like there were conflicts, and because of these conflicts, both groups decided to increase their population because they needed more numbers on their side. It is not because of increased population they started to fight. No, they were fighting before, and because of that they grew population. Why they started fighting, we don't know about that. Okay, obviously they were because of food, but let's just say we don't know about that, and question is not even asking about that. Question is saying like the number of people increased, and as a result, because of the increased number of people, as a result it led to conflicts, disagreements. But here they're saying they were having disagreements beforehand, and then to make theirs like you to make their hand, or like to get the upper hand, they started to increase population. So it's entirely opposite to that. I hope it is clear. Let's read the 25th question. Foodstuffs are still used instead of money today. So food we are using still instead of money. Let's There is no mention of that. Different quantities of land led to income inequalities. Okay, there is still no mention of that. So these should be in the next paragraphs. Okay, let's read the remaining paragraphs, G and H. Okay, how intensively people cultivate their land also has profound social implications. So now they're talking about the way people cultivate their lands, basically grow food on their land, crops on their land. Is it has it also has some impact on it has some social implications. All right. When a significant amount of labor was used to improve farmland, farmers were essentially investing in the land by adding value to it, which further enhanced their claims to ownership. So now they're saying that let me change the color. When significant amount of labor was invested, okay, let me do this. When significant amount of labor was used to improve the farmland. So they were improving the farmland by like implementing the significant amount of labor, using significant amount of labor. Farmers were essentially investing in the land by adding value, which further obviously enhanced their claims to ownership. Now it is enhancing their claim, like making their claims stronger. This may help answer serious questions about when people first began to believe that land was something that could be owned, or to which access could be limited or denied. Now this knowing this may help answer some serious questions. What kind of questions, or on what topic? Like when people first began to believe that the land was something that could be owned, like when they started to believe that this is their land, like they have ownership on this land, when they started to have this particular idea, or when or the access to this particular land, like what kind of people are allowed on this particular land, or which people could access, or like okay, what type of people could have access to this particular land, or whom they can deny the use of this land, this particular idea when it started. I hope the paragraph is clear. Now, again, you have about 10 seconds to tell me the answer to this particular question, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. Let's read the options together. Fourth, the origin of private ownership. Can this be our answer? No. I think a lot of I believe a lot of students might have opted for this option because they would have thought the ownership, private ownership, and this is also something about ownership. Here later is written claims of ownership, but this is not the origin. So here they are saying this may help answer serious questions. So what kind of question? But we don't know when it started. So when people began, so this can answer this question, but when people started, we don't know about the exact time or thing like that. So that's why fourth option cannot be our answer. Food and income distribution, there is no mention of that. Natural hazards, obviously no mention of that again. Ninth, staple foods, no mention of that. So our answer should be ques- questions about ownership, 11th option. So let me write our answer here. 11th option, questions about ownership. Where it is written? Yeah, here in the last sentence. This may help answer the questions. So we have some questions about the ownership, and this may help to answer those questions, those queries. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the yes no. Let's see if there is any answer. Foodstuffs are still used to still used instead of money today. Is there any mention of this? No. Let's see the 26th. Then different qualities of land led to income inequalities. Is there any mention of like different qualities of land, like some lands are more fertile than others and this led to income inequalities? There is no mention of some lands being more fertile than others or yield more than others. There is no mention of that. So maybe in the last paragraph we will find both the answers. Okay, so we have only one paragraph left. H, and how many options? One, two, three, four. So we have four options left and we have only one paragraph. Let's read this paragraph now. One reason why it was seen as important for people to own the land where they produced or acquired their food is because some patches of land are more fertile than others. So now they're saying that what is the one reason they think it is important for people to own the land where they produced food, because this is the reason some patches are more fertile than others. Obviously some at some places you can grow more food than others. As a result, different plots provided different amounts of food, allowing some families to become considerably richer than others. So, what happened as a result? As a result, some families became like more rich, like richer than the other families. Moreover, food surpluses produced by relatively successful households could be shared out to less productive ones, incurring debts or obligations that less productive families carried into the future. So now they were giving some kind of debts to those families whose land doesn't produce as much food as theirs. So this particular debt carried on to the into the future, like onto the next generations. A system of food production can in this way set the stage for lasting social inequalities. And because of this particular food production system, it led to lasting social inequalities, because those social inequalities led well into the future or lasted well into the future. I hope it is clear. So you have again 10 seconds. Tell me the answer. Out of these one, two, three, four options, which answer do you think should be to this particular question? And time starts now. Okay, time's up. Let's read the options together. Fourth, the origin of private ownership. Is there any mention of how private ownership started? Oh, sorry, where private ownership started, or when private ownership started, or how private ownership started? No, there is no. Sorry about that. There is no mention of that. Fifth, food and income distribution. Is there any mention of how food and income distribution were related, or something like that? Yes, this is our answer. Food and income distribution. Let me first write it here. So now let me change the color and mark. So obviously this is not mentioned. There is no mention of natural hazards and there is no mention of staple foods. Clear? So where it is written food and income distribution, uh, can you tell me? Yes. Yes, here it is written. As a result, different plots provided different amounts of food, allowing some families to become considerably more richer than others. So here it is mentioned. This is question number 20. I hope it is clear why it is fifth option. Now, moving on to the true yes no not given. So, is there any mention of foodstuffs that are still used today, still used instead of money today? No, there is no mention of that. So, because of that, our answer to this will be not given. Now, 26, different qualities of land led to income inequalities. There is there mention, yes, we have read somewhere, yeah, here some patches of this land were more fertile, as a result this become this. So now this is your location. Now you have about 10 seconds, tell me whether the answer should be yes, no, or not given, and the time starts now. Okay, time's up. I'm gonna write the answer here first, then I will mark the location. And the answer to this question is yes. So we know, say they're saying the different led to income inequalities, obviously. So here they're saying some patches they were more fertile than others, and as a result this thing happened. So this is also of this. So let me do then it will be confusion. So this is also the answer of question number 26. So income inequality, yes, some families became richer than others. So that is income inequalities. Why? Because different plots provided different amounts of food, and some patches were more fertile than others. So this is because of different qualities of land. It led to income inequalities. I hope it is clear. So we have done, yeah, all of these and these. So this is how you should attempt your reading paragraphs. If you are able to understand everything, you will be able to mark the correct answer without fail every time. So if you still have any doubt, you can rewatch that part of the video, or you can rewatch the entire video if you like to do so. And if you have more doubt, then you can leave the comment in the comment box, and we will try to solve your doubts there. If you want to watch more videos, you can go to our video section or our playlist. You will find different videos, different readings solved there. But and on this ending note, if you are struggling in your writing, if you are struggling to get band 7 in your writing and or speaking, you are stuck at 6 or 6.5, and you have practiced a lot, you have like given a lot of exams, still don't know where you are lacking, why you're not able to get that all elusive 7 in writing and or speaking, you can take our help. We will be like happy to help you. We have made a video course on it where we have covered in depth all the 4 parameters that examiners assess your essay or your speaking on. You will get to know what kind of things you need to take care about. We will teach you all our tried and tested structures, both in writing, task 1, task 2, and speaking, all 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. With that will allow you to get a band 7 or even band 8 or 9. If whatever your dream score is, you will be able to get that. We have analyzed in depth about all the 4 parameters that you need to know. And if you want to book our 1-to-1 speaking slot, you can book that also. And if you want to book our writing correction service, you can book that too. I will leave the link in the bio or in the description of this video. You can contact us from there. So that's it for this video then. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.